It's an ABC News.
As our world changes, we'll keep you up to date. News Talk KVNU, 102 FM, 610 AM. Also on the new KVNU mobile app.
KVNU News Time is 5:05. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by Whole Tree Care. Utah First Lady Abby Cox is inviting kids to help those in Ukraine by doing something they do best, sending heartfelt messages to children fleeing the war-torn country. The letters and cards will be included in a shipment of goods through the Larry H. Miller Company's Driven to Assist program, which is collecting money and donations to send to Ukrainian refugees who have fled or are fleeing the country. Cox asked that these cards and letters be mailed or hand-delivered to the governor's mansion at the following address, 603 East South Temple, Salt Lake City, 84102. They must be received by this Thursday to be included in the shipment. KVNU News Time is 5:06. KVNU weather for tonight. Partly cloudy skies is the forecast, mid-20s overnight. And then a 50% chance of rain in the afternoon tomorrow, cloudy and upper 40s. Rain likely Tuesday evening. A chance of rain and snow after midnight, little or no accumulation, low around 30. Cloudy, then partly cloudy on Wednesday, high temperature in the middle 40s. It's been to 51. Right now we have 48 at KVNU. KVNU weather brought to you by Northern Steel Buildings. Work with their Cache Valley team to build a stronger, more durable, long-lasting structure for your needs today. Visit northernsteelbuilding.com. Call 435-677-7300.
Is it too early to bring up yard work?
What?
Okay, but this is different. I'm talking about tree pruning. I know we haven't escaped winter yet, but right now is the best time to prune your trees. And the only thing you have to do is call Whole Tree Care, 760-6587. Right now they're offering an exclusive radio discount, so be sure to ask for it when you call, 760-6587. Get ahead of the spring rush. Get your trees and shrubs trimmed by Whole Tree Care, 760-6587.
KVNU News Time is 5:07. The American Festival Chorus and Orchestra will be collaborating with a music education program and Carnegie Hall, one of the nation's most famous concert venues, for the Link Up concert to be held Thursday morning at 10 a.m. The concert will be held at the USU Danes Concert Hall. This is the first time Carnegie Hall's Weil Music Institute has worked with the American Festival Music Group and schools in Cache Valley. These programs will reach over 500,000 people in New York City, across the U.S., and around the globe during the 2021-22 season. Approximately 1,300 Cache Valley students will sing, move, and play instruments with the orchestra from their seats and be part of something bigger than anything they can do locally. For many of these students, performing their first concert will provide them with an opportunity to apply musical concepts they've learned during the year. Leslie Timmons, the director of the American Festival Course's education outreach, said there is nothing comparable to attending a concert in person and to experience live music making. And a Senate committee chairman revived a bill that would dramatically increase the secrecy surrounding Idaho's execution drugs, bringing the matter back for a second vote today after it failed to pass last week. The bill barring officials from releasing where they obtain lethal injection drugs was sent to the full Senate on a 5-4 vote. The legislation had seemingly died in committee last week after a tie vote. Ties typically result in a bill being defeated under the rules used by the legislature. But Chairman Senator Todd Lakey said he wanted to hold another vote because last week one of the committee members was absent. KVNU News Time is 5:09. For more details on these and other stories, visit CacheValleyDaily.com.
When news breaks, we break in. News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
I don't know how else to say this, Dad, but here it goes.
It's time for the famous West Motor Rodeo Day sale.
Wait a minute. What are you talking about, Taylor? Rodeo Days doesn't start until July.
New truck lots across the country are almost empty, right?
You're right.
But here at West Motor, business is booming. So how is West Motor selling so many trucks?
Most of our customers are ordering their truck exactly how they want it. So as soon as the truck hits the lot, they don't let us keep it there for everyone else to look at. They want to take it home. So the best way to buy a new truck during the famous West Motor Rodeo Day sale is to order it right now during Truck Month.
Now that's what I'm talking about.
Plus, trade-in values are at an all-time high. And in many cases, you can buy a brand new truck for less than a used one. We'll include our famous Rodeo Days discounts, a free lifetime warranty, and a free bed liner. Taylor, you're brilliant.
Call, click, or visit West Motor and order your new Ford or Ram truck today. WestMotorCompany.com.
The last Wild Women's Clinic at Beaver Mountain will be held Wednesday, March 16th. The cost is $55 for a 2-hour group ski or snowboard lesson. Space is limited. You need to be registered by Monday, March 14th. Register at skithebeav.com through your season pass account or create one. Go to skithebeav.com for all the information. Don't miss the last Wild Women's Clinic of the season, Wednesday, March 16th. Come on up and ski the Beav.
We may be thousands of miles apart, but we can still connect. And when we do, we make things better. At Child Fund, we connect children all around the world with what they need to grow up healthy, educated, and safe. Together, we co-create connections that help millions of children who live in poverty worldwide, and their families, and their communities, and you. Join us. Together, we can make the world a better place. 2 small worlds at a time. Visit childfund.org to learn more.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People, Hour 2 of today's show, Monday, March 14th. I'm Jason Williams, Bill Walter here in the studio, and we are kicking this week off with the County Hour with Cache County Executive David Zook here in the studio. And first off, I have to say, David, before we get started, congratulations on your re-election.
Thank you.
You filed to run, and then... And then you'll be in the spot, right?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. We had several, actually all of our county elected officials are running unopposed. So our sheriff, our county attorney, myself, our county clerk, the 4 of us are countywide officials, and nobody filed to run against us, which we all would like to take as a vote of confidence. So thank you to the voters for that vote of confidence. And then we do have a couple of other county seats that are up.
Sure.
We have 3 of our county council races, or three of our 7 county council seats where there will be races. Those 3 incumbents are not running for re-election.
Yeah, new names in those seats for the first time in a long time.
Yeah, three new people in those. So it'll be interesting to see how those turn out. One of them we already know. Sandy Goodlander is running for Paul Borup's seat. That's on the east side of Logan. She's the only one who filed in that one. So similar to the 4 of us countywide offices, she'll be in because nobody else filed in either party. But then the other 2 have 3 people each running for them. So the one that's currently Gina Worthens that covers North Logan, Hyde Park, and a little bit of Smithfield. That one has 3 people running for it. And then there's Gordon Zillis' seat that covers Providence, Millville, Nibley area. And that one has 3 people running for it as well.
That'll be interesting. And we do have, election year wise, we do have a lot that will be on the ballot. There's will be a primary in the Box Elder and Sliver of Cache County Senate seat, primary in what is currently District 3, but I think shifts to District 2, or is it the other way around after redistricting? Don't quote me on that, but the seat currently held by Representative Mike Peterson. He's being challenged within the party by former lawmaker Val Potter. So there's it's not going to be a slow year. You're going to see a lot of campaigning here in Cache Valley in general. Does it free things up a bit as far as the county goes to not have to, where a good chunk of county leadership is running unopposed? You can go about your business for the most part, right? And there's kind of a lot going on.
Yeah, there is.
We were talking about Logan City in hour one, and that's just one city. Now, every city's doing stuff like this, and the county has to kind of play a bit of an umbrella role over all of that, right?
Yeah, and then we have projects that are specific to us as well. It is a busy time, and I'm thankful to have one less thing to have to worry about and to be able to focus on the many priorities that we have before us.
This was, before we get too far into county business, it was something I know that you personally and many at the county had been keeping a close eye on, and I know Representative Dan Johnson was pretty key in all of this as well, but passage of a new law here in Utah that is strengthening child pornography laws that already on the books, but they were weaker than anybody thought, right?
Yeah, that was the main problem, and thanks for bringing this up because this is an important topic, and it's one that I like to talk about. And it really all started with Maloof, and for the listeners who aren't familiar with Maloof, they're a company in the south end of our valley down in Nibley, and they're very successful. They sell all kinds of household goods. They started off with sheets and then pillows and mattresses, and now they sell furniture and all kinds of things. Very successful company, but what makes them awesome is they decided to take their success and use the resources that they have to do some good in the world. And they picked a cause. Their cause is child exploitation. They want to prevent child exploitation. They want to protect children. And really, what better cause could there be?
Sure.
So they've done a number of things to help. They created a Maloof Foundation that helps to fight child sex trafficking and child exploitation. And they actually had a world-class summit last year here in Cache Valley where they brought world-class leaders to talk about these issues. And then later in the year, they had a little bit smaller event. They brought in an expert from actually Oklahoma who'd had a lot of success with cracking down on people generating and distributing child pornography.
Yeah.
So we had a meeting. They invited me to come to this meeting, and we talked about it, and we brought from the county some of our prosecutors and law enforcement staff, and we talked about the issue. And one of the issues that we identified was that our penalties are just too weak here, way too weak. And I'll give you an example of that. We had a case, and this case actually started with the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. They found somebody online who was peddling in this trash, and they realized it was coming from the United States, so they sent it to Homeland Security. Homeland Security gave it to the FBI. The FBI investigated. They found that it was in Cache County. That was where the stuff was originating.
Oh, wow.
We investigated locally. We found the guy. We arrested the guy. We prosecuted him. We convicted him.
Mm-hmm.
And lots of horrible pictures and videos of children being victimized. And he got 60 days in jail. And that's just disgusting, I think.
Yeah, 60
days. It's disgusting that somebody be doing this in the first place. It's even worse that they get a slap on the wrist like this and can then be back out victimizing it. What kind of a message does that send to the victims?
Because we're talking about an individual that was generating, right? This wasn't just someone who had a bunch on their computer. This was a person who was making it, right?
Yeah, and and so that's the law that we changed. What we changed was we made it a first-degree felony, which is the worst type of felony you can be convicted of.
So that's where things start now, right?
Yeah,
for child pornography,
first-degree felony. If you are if you're manufacturing it or you're distributing it, it can be you can be charged now with a first-degree felony, which comes with a much tougher penalty. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot more work that needs to be done. And I did not realize how difficult this was going to be for us to pass this law. So we had that meeting with Maloof and these law enforcement officials, and we said, let's fix this. We need to do this. And I said, yeah, let's go get the legislature to do it. And legislatures to pass a law. In that meeting, before we even left the room, there were people in that meeting saying, this is going to be tough. We're going to have to convince people to pay for putting bad guys in prison. That's going to cost money. And they're going to say, this is more expensive. because that's the direction that the justice system has been going with the Justice Reinvestment Initiative. They've been across the country. This has been happening where legislators have been changing the laws to make the penalties lower, smaller penalties for crimes, and in many cases no jail time. We're building a new prison right now in our state. It's actually smaller than our current prison.
Yeah,
they're building it with fewer beds, has smaller capacity because of these laws. Because they're planning to lock up fewer people.
Sure.
So that
which
came
you
up.
can understand for maybe some low level, possession or something like that. But child pornography.
Yeah, this and especially if you are manufacturing that means you are victimizing a child.
Yeah.
And not only that, the people who are looking at it are victimizing a child.
Sure.
Somebody's being victimized every time because a child had to be victimized for this to be created in the first place. And so in our very first meeting, we were talking about this, and several people in the room said, you're going to have a lot of pushback. This is going to be tougher than you think. We're not going to be able to convince them. People aren't going to want to spend money on this. And I said, I don't care. We're going to do it anyways. We're going to push. And I said, let's make them tell us no. I want to see somebody actually tell us no.
Always a good idea with the legislature.
Yeah.
To approach them that way.
And so we did it. So after that meeting, I went to Senator Chris Wilson, and I said, Senator Wilson, we had this meeting. We've identified this problem. Will you help us? Will you run a bill to do this? It took him about 2 seconds to say, absolutely. I will totally run that bill. I will make it my top priority. And he did. He did that. And Senator Wilson and I, we learned a lot from this process because we did, in fact, get a lot of pushback. And
that's interesting.
We
because you'd think in an election year, especially, this would be an absolute no-brainer.
Well, once it got to the floor, once there was a vote on the floor of the Senate, a vote on the floor of the House, it passed unanimously both places. But getting to that point was very challenging, and that's what I thought. I thought, how could somebody actually say something against this? And so Senator Wilson introduced the bill, but we realized that there are two steps to the legislative process. There's the formal process where you fill out your paperwork, you submit it, you get it to go to the committee, things like that. But there's an informal process that is a lot more complex, involves a lot more people, and is not.
And that's usually where they're talking about money and things like that, right?
Well, even before that, where you have all of these stakeholders that you need to talk to and get on board, because if you don't, they're going to fight against it and they're going to kill your bill.
Sure.
So we had
just because you didn't include them.
Yeah. Well, and not only that, we had about a dozen different stakeholders that we had to reach out to, and this is people like the Sentencing Commission, like the Defense Attorneys Group. There's the Prosecutors Group. There are all these different groups out there, committees out there, who want to be able to review the bill, give their input, and sometimes they might be completely against it. So that was a process we had to go through of reaching out to all of them, making sure they had a copy of it, making sure they reviewed it, making sure we met with them, heard what their input was. This bill went through several iterations as we got feedback from people, and they said, we don't like this part. If you wrote it this way, maybe we could support it. We did that, and that was the real work that had to be done on this behind the scenes. The Attorney General's office got involved and was incredible. They were so helpful with this process. And ultimately, all of the stakeholder groups were on board, even the defense attorneys, which I didn't think we would ever have their group on board with it. They were even on board with this and support it because we met with them, we listened to them, we figured out a compromise in the bill about the language, and ultimately they supported it. So when we went to committee, the first time we went to committee, we did not have everybody on board. We didn't even have all of the senators in that committee support it. But ultimately, like I said, when it went to the floor in the House and in the Senate, it passed unanimously.
That's good.
So our kids in Utah are going to be safer now because we have tougher penalties. And this is, unfortunately, a huge problem. Child pornography, it doesn't really make sense to me. I don't understand why or how this happens. I actually, during this process, when I was meeting with some of these defense attorneys, I asked them, I said, "What? Can you tell me why it is that so many people are doing this? What is the problem, and how is it that they're getting involved with this?" And they told me the same thing I had already heard from our prosecutors. And it's that people start off with just run-of-the-mill pornography, but it's like any other drug. Eventually, it doesn't give people enough of a high, and they need something more hardcore. And unfortunately, this is the direction that a lot of people go. But the really bad part, and there's another thing I've heard from prosecutors, is that some people don't stop at just looking at it and eventually victimize people.
Sure.
And that's the really bad part.
Yeah, that's it. 60 days for something like this, and then, the stories, and you have, as county executive, you have the ability to go to the legislature with kind of a powerhouse behind you as well, in the county attorney's office, in the Terrell Warner, and all the work that victims advocates do. They'll tell you again and again, this has been a known issue for some time, right?
Yeah, this has been a problem for a long time, and there's a lot more work that we need to do. And this is one of the great things about that bill. So this child exploitation bill that was passed, it was SB 167. One of the things that we put in the bill was that we have now required, or the legislature has now required, the Sentencing Commission, the state Sentencing Commission, to study this issue and come back with more recommendations for ways that we could change the sentencing and improve it. Because that's ultimately what the problem is with this, is the sentencing guidelines. It's a complex process.
Sure.
If somebody gets convicted of a crime, it's not just totally up to the judge if they think it should be 6 months or a year or 10 years or life.
Yeah.
That's spelled out in the law, what their options are, what the recommendations are. Sometimes there are mandatory sentences, sometimes there's a range, sometimes they have more discretion. But that's the problem here, is we originally tried to put mandatory sentences in this bill. That was taken out. That was not in the final version.
Oh, really?
Because there were so many people pushing back against that.
Against mandatory.
Because it takes away the judge's discretion, and there could be different cases, and where sometimes it's warranted and sometimes it's not. So we ended up having to take that out. That was one of the compromises we made in order to get this passed. But we wanted to make it a first-degree felony. We succeeded in that, and we succeeded in getting this order for the Sentencing Commission to study the issue, to come back with a recommendation, and next session we will have more changes. We'll keep moving in the right direction.
That's interesting. Good luck on that, because it's important work, to say the least, and it again is surprising that, as Mr. Zook just told us, that someone could be investigated for, convicted of these types of crimes, and then be sentenced to 60 days. People have gotten more than that for traffic violations, and this law will change that here in Utah, or has changed that here in Utah.
The next one I would love to tackle, and I was trying to do that as part of this bill this time, but we weren't able to. This is a much harder effort than I thought, like I mentioned earlier, is I'd like to toughen the penalties for people who are enticing minors over the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a case last July, where there was a guy from Davis County. He was convicted of trying to entice what he thought was a 13-year-old girl over the internet. And thankfully in that case, it was an undercover police officer. He got arrested. He got convicted. He got sentenced to probation.
Yeah.
And not even any jail time.
Yeah,
and within days, he was up here in our county, kidnapped 3 girls, raped them. Unfortunately, that time, it was actually girls that he was talking to online. But he didn't learn his lesson that first time. He didn't even get jail time. So he came up here. He committed this horrendous crime, and we have 3 girls now whose life will never be the same.
Sure.
That is what I'm hoping to be able to tackle next time, is people who are enticing minors over the internet.
It'll be interesting to watch that, and I'm glad that you've taken an interest in this. I know, again, there are a lot of people at the county that have to be cheering that you've taken an interest in this. And it's also, for listeners out there, this is a good reminder, too, that when it comes to your local officials in the legislative session, they are also there sort of as lobbyists for you. Most citizens don't have an official lobbyist, while large corporations do. But the legislature, at least our legislature, is still pretty open to county officials and city officials going down, saying this is what we're hearing from our residents. So a lot of that happened this session, and this bill, if you'd like to read it, I've linked to it on our Facebook page, but this bill officially now a done deal, makes the law here in Utah much tougher on child pornography creation and distribution. After this was discovered here in Cache County, a man sentenced to only 60 days after producing child pornography here in the Valley. Check it out. I've linked to it on our Facebook page, and we'll be back right after this.
Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology is Cache Valley's most trusted name in hearing aids. Once again, you'll be able to hear a loved one's laughter and understand conversations. Schedule a free hearing evaluation with Dr. Paul Daines at Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology. Call 753-4327. That's 753-HEAR. Or visit cachehearing.com.
Bring back what you've been missing. Bring back Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology.
Connect. It's what we do and where we go. We connect with people at home or at work, online or in person. Everyone needs connecting. At CVTD, we are committed to helping our community connect by providing a service for you, a service that gives some the independence that they otherwise might not have. Our employees are here to connect you with the people and places that matter most through our services and through our values. Learn more at cvtdbus.org.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. You are listening to the County Hour with Cache County Executive David Zook here in the studio. Please join us if you have a comment or a question for Mr. Zook, 753-5868, or you can message us on Google Chat with using the KVNU FTP handle. Also email us at kvnuftp@gmail.com, 753-5868 if you have a comment or a question for our guest, Cache County Executive David Zook, here with us in the studio this hour, and we'll keep the conversation going after these headlines with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time is 5:32, and the news is brought to you by Mount Logan Laundry. Another symbolic change took place this week at what will, in a few months, officially become Utah Tech University. Crews at Dixie State University in St. George installed a new, bigger-than-life statue of a bison on campus, right in the spot where a controversial statue depicting Confederate soldiers once stood. The Spectrum reports the newest addition to Dixie State's bison statue family was donated by the Safari Club International Foundation. The artist Douglas Van Howard calls this piece the Prairie Spring. The school has twice changed mascot since 2009 when it stopped calling its sports teams the Rebels, in part of a years-long effort to move away from the Confederate imagery used earlier in its history. In 2012, the school removed a statue that showed two Confederate soldiers with one rebel soldier on horseback reaching down to assist a fallen comrade during the Civil War. That piece has also been donated by a local artist, Jerry Anderson. Dixie State is scheduled to officially become Utah Tech University on July 1st, after years of debate over the Dixie name and its connotations. It's easy to see and hear why the family band The Petersons are popular attractions in the music mecca of Branson, Missouri. With entertainment like The Petersons, it's equally obvious why the Cache Valley Cowboy Rendezvous is still going strong after 12 years. The Petersons were one of two headline acts at the Cowboy Rendezvous this past weekend. Their repertoire consisted mainly of pop music covers infused with a bluegrass favor and the hint of a yodel in the background. You can read more of Charlie's story at CashValleyDaily.com. And police say far-right activist Ammon Bundy has been arrested after refusing to leave a hospital in connection with a child welfare case. The Idaho Statesman reports that Bundy was arrested early Saturday on suspicion of misdemeanor trespassing at St. Luke's Meridian Medical Center. The arrest concerned a child welfare case involving a 10-month-old determined to be suffering from severe malnourishment. Bundy described himself as a friend to the family. Bundy is running for governor in Idaho and is well known for participating in armed standoffs with law enforcement, notably at the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge in Oregon in 2016 and on federal land near his family's ranch in Nevada in 2014. KVNU News Time is 5:35.
Have you pulled your spring sheets out of storage, and do they smell stale and need freshening up? How about your blankets and your quilts? Are things dingy from winter use? Well, go to Mount Logan Laundry. It takes no time at all to freshen everything up with their 55 and 80-pound washers and dryers, and it costs a lot less than the dry cleaners, and free Wi-Fi and drop-off service, too. Mount Logan Laundry really is the cleanest spot in town. Find them at 5th East and 9th North in Logan, or in Brigham City on the corner of 1st East and 7th South.
KVNU weather tonight, partly cloudy skies, overnight low in the mid-20s, and then by tomorrow, a 50% chance of rain in the afternoon, cloudy upper 40s, rain likely Tuesday evening, then a chance of rain and snow after midnight, little or no accumulation, low around 30, cloudy and then partly sunny skies, high in the mid-40s on Wednesday. It's been to 51. Right now it's 48 at KBNU. KBNU weather brought to you by Berenson Caldwell. If you've been in an accident, contact Berenson Caldwell for professional legal advice. Visit BerensonLaw.com to instantly connect and receive a free case review of your injury. BerensonLaw.com. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com.
My name is Dr. Brandon Prevey, and I love being a dentist. I work with Drs. Curtis Taylor, Anthony Larson, and Paul Harris. When people ask where our office is, I actually have two answers. First, I spend part of the week at Logan Dental Associates, and then second, I spend the other part at Cherry Creek Dental in Richmond. Both locations are a full-service dental office and can take care of everyone in the family. Call or go online and make your appointment with the offices most convenient for you. Logan Dental Associates in Logan or Cherry Creek Dental in Richmond.
I'm Larry Gelwigs, the getaway guru with Morris Columbus Travel and Celebrity Cruises. It's our spring cruise sale with 25% off cruises and airfare, plus free drinks, free Wi-Fi, and free prepaid gratuities on most Celebrity Cruises through March 2023. And for the best travel deals on the planet, give us a call at Morris Columbus Travel.
Come on and get away, Morris Columbus.
UNI Furniture stocked up with a wide variety of home furnishings. You've heard us talk about their chair department before. It's chair heaven. A big variety means a good chance UNI will have what you're looking for. Also, UNI, your mattress headquarters, including Therapeutic and Maloof. See the new Therapeutic Synthesis. It's a hybrid mattress with inner springs and copper-infused memory foam that helps keep you sleeping cooler and more comfortable. Also, check out the Therapeutic HD mattress line, built for support for all those with weight concerns. UNI Furniture, downtown Logan for over 90 years. Always a better buy at UNI.
Ah, that's better. Trade in the stresses of building a new home for relaxation. Visionary Homes' priority is giving you a stress-free building experience. Named the best home builder in northern Utah, Visionary Homes' team will guide you seamlessly through the home building process. Call today, 435-228-4702, or visit visionaryhomes.com to learn more about upcoming communities in Nibley, Logan, and Smithfield. Visionary Homes, built for living, built for you.
Ultimate power, ultimate potential. Now everyone can discover that Ski-Doo feeling with the new 2023 Ski-Doo Deep Snow Sleds. Available with the all-new Rev Gen 5 platform and Turbo R engine, bringing you the best power-to-weight ratio in the game. Plus, discover a whole new range of models for every rider, including the new Summit Neo Plus, built ready for your first time. The only question we have, who's coming for a ride? Pre-order yours today and discover that Ski-Doo feeling. Restrictions apply. Customer offers vary based on creditworthiness. See dealer for details.
The
Cache Valley Media Group helps Angie's Restaurant grow their business.
They're personable, they're easy to deal with, they're easy to work with, and at the end of the day, they give you results.
What surprised you about being on the radio?
I did not think they would be getting the results that we did, so it kind of exceeded our expectations.
Visit CacheValleyMediaGroup.com or call 752-1390.
Helping you grow your business. Cache Valley Media Group. Helping your business grow.
And we're live here outside the Perez family home, just waiting for the... And there they go, almost on time this morning. Mom is coming out the front door strong with a double-arm kid carry. Looks like Dad has the bags. Daughter is bringing up the rear. Oh, but the diaper bag wasn't closed. Diapers and toys are everywhere. Ooh, but Mom has just nailed the perfect car seat buckle for the toddler. And now the eldest daughter, who looks to be about 9 or 10, has secured herself in the booster seat. Dad zips the bag closed, and they're off. But looks like Mom doesn't realize her coffee cup is still on the roof of the car. And there it goes. Oh, that's a shame. That mug was a fam favorite.
Don't sweat the small stuff. Just nail the big stuff, like making sure your kids are buckled correctly in the right seat for their age and size. Learn more at nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Visit nhtsa.gov/the
right seat. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. Joined in studio this hour by Cache County Executive David Zook, here for our monthly installment of the County Hour. And Mr. Zook updating us a bit there on the legislative session, which wrapped up last week, and a week before that, and is officially at this point done. But a lot of good things happened, and David, I know something else you guys here in Cache County had to do during the legislative session is keep things focused a bit on Cache County when it comes to the legislature. Spent a lot of money between federal aid, state surpluses, and general rosy revenue pictures for the near term, for future at least. The state was inclined to fund a lot of things that had been waiting for a while. And a good chunk of that is coming our way, especially when it comes to transportation funding, right? Does that take any of the pressure off the county? Can you now, open things up a bit as far as planning goes, or?
I would say no. The pressure never comes off.
The constant growth makes sure that doesn't happen, right?
If we had fewer cars on the road, maybe that would take the pressure off. But no, the pressure keeps going. But there is some funding that happened in the legislative session that I would love to talk about that I don't think anybody knows about.
Oh, really?
And in my personal opinion, this is one of the biggest successes of the legislative session, and it's something that Dan Johnson worked on. Representative Dan Johnson from Logan, he's incredible. He's just down there quietly working away. Not making too much noise, not too flashy, just kind of behind the scenes, taking care of business. He's amazing. I'll tell you a couple of the things that he worked on, and then I'll tell you the one that I am really impressed with.
It's always the quiet lawmakers.
It's always the quiet ones. Behind the scenes, they're making deals.
He's a pretty quiet guy, but he gets things done.
He got so much done for our community and the entire state. He got money for CAPSA. He got money for helping them with domestic violence. He got $850,000 for USU to do Alzheimer's research. He's always working on all kinds of things related to education, related to first responders. So many bills that he had that passed. But this is the one I want to tell you about. He got $3.4 million of ongoing money, meaning nobody has to go back next year and ask again.
Sure.
Ongoing money, $3.4 million for family support centers statewide. Not just our family place.
That's a big deal.
So the family place here in Cache County, that's our family support center. It covers Cache County and Rich County, actually.
That's right.
I'm on their board. I've been serving on the board at the family place for 10 years now. And when I first got on the board and I learned about what the Family Place did, I had no idea. And I know a lot of people in our community don't know. It's the children's shelter for our community. So whenever you hear about one of these horrible stories on the news about some kids who got abused or their parents got arrested for some crime or the other, if you've ever wondered, where do those kids go? What happens to those kids when there's some horrible crime and their parents go to jail? Well, many times the children end up having to go into a shelter until a longer-term arrangement can be made, foster care or with family or something. Well, where is that shelter? That's the Family Place.
Sure.
The Family Place is our children's shelter for our valley. So when I first came on the board, I was learning about what we do. So if Department of Child and Family Services has to remove a child from a home and takes them there, then they bring them to us. So the state's bringing us these kids. And I said, so does the state give us money for that? Well, no, not exactly. We have to raise money. We get some from here and there in different funding programs, but we don't get, as a nonprofit organization, we don't get money to help pay for this. So thankfully, generous people in the community have helped to keep that going. And we still need them to keep it going. But I asked the question 10 years ago. I said, shouldn't the state be funding this and helping to pay for this function? And so we started a campaign 10 years ago. You were talking in the first segment about lobbyists and maybe a well-off company with lots of money can hire a lobbyist to help advocate for them. We didn't have that. We're a small nonprofit. We were very small back then. And we said, let's start getting the word out. So we started bringing legislators in. We started taking them on tours. We started teaching them about what we were doing, what the needs are, telling them stories about some of the kids who were coming through our shelter. And then Dan Johnson came along, and he's actually gotten money for us in previous sessions. But unfortunately, every time there was money, it was, okay, we've got a little extra money. We can get you this money one time, but there's no guarantee that it's going to be there next time.
Sure.
He's gotten that, and we really appreciate him doing that. This year, he made it permanent. He got $3.4 million for all of the family support centers across the state. We think
very nice.
We think the Family Place here in Logan, Utah, in Cache County, is going to get more than $500,000 of that every year to help support our children's shelter here in the valley.
That's amazing.
That's a huge win, and one that I haven't heard anybody talk about outside of the Family Place. I went to our board of directors meeting a couple weeks ago and we talked about it, but other than that, I haven't heard anybody talk about it. But it's a huge success that our Dan Johnson from Logan, Utah, took care of this. And not only did he take care of it for us, but he took care of it for the shelters across the entire state.
That's money well spent, to say the least. The work, I know, we've spent some time with the Family Place representatives as they celebrate their 40th year this year. They'll be joining us regularly, and most people don't know everything that goes on there, everything that they take care of in various scenarios, from very serious situations like, as you described, David, a child who needs literally a home for a few days or a week, to something like a parent needing a 2-hour break so they can go to a dentist appointment or something. Yeah. It's or for their mental health. I know stressed out moms out there understand what I'm talking about. The Family Place is a pretty amazing thing, and Representative Johnson has made this a focus of his when it comes to CAPSA, the Family Place, all of this, and that's been really nice to see. But it's also nice to see the county has his back, and that he's not alone down there fighting for this. That is something that, to me, you're a humble guy, you won't take credit for this, but to me this seems new for the county. Things seemed a bit more, when it came to Cache Valley, lobbying for Cache Valley, for lack of a better phrase, we'll use the word lobbying, it seemed very organized and coordinated this year. Was that a conscious thing on your part? Was that something you said, look, let's get everything together and go down there prepared and meet it as a solid front, or did it just happen?
I'm glad you think it looks that way from the outside.
It was much more chaotic from the inside, huh?
It does feel very chaotic because there are so many moving pieces.
Sure. You guys had it from all fronts. You had transportation funding to discuss. You had, as you worked on the exploitation bill, Then you had, as we've just been discussing here, you have bills that deal with funding nonprofits and organizations here in the county, and those are just a few. So you had all these different irons in the fire, and
hundreds of bills.
But it did seem that Cache County went very prepared this year.
We could do a lot better, and we learned a lot of lessons this year. But I appreciate the compliment. I do feel like historically we've been very polite about this in Cache County, and people in Cache County are very nice. They're very polite.
We don't want to rock the boat.
Yeah, if you want to know what I'm talking about, just go to a 4-way stop, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
That's right. No, you go. You go first.
No, you. People are very nice here, and that's one of the things I love about our community. But I also have felt like somebody needs to speak up sometimes about some things, and one of those is transportation funding. Sure. And I've heard for too long that we have been content with whatever has been handed to us, and we ask nicely, and then we just accept whatever we get. And
with an apology, it's always sorry, Salt Lake needs it so much, or Utah County needs it so much.
And I understand that it is a tough job for our legislators, for our governor, for the various state departments like UDOT to balance the needs. And I understand that there are greater needs sometimes in places with higher populations, like down in the Salt Lake area.
Sure.
But we should still get our fair share. We pay a certain amount of taxes. We pay a certain amount into those pots of money for our road projects. We should at least get back our fair share, whatever we paid into it, whatever our proportionate share is. We should get that here in Cache County. So we need to speak up about that, and that's one of the things that I said when I ran for office. I said, I will speak up for you. I will make sure that Cache County's voice is heard at the legislature, with the agencies, at the governor's office, in Washington, D.C., wherever it needs to be heard. I will make sure it gets heard, and the needs of our residents are listened to, and that we get our fair share back, because we have needs here too. We are growing very rapidly. We added over 20,000 people here during the last census, and we have needs related to roads. We have needs related to public safety. We have needs related to social services. These are all things that we are going to advocate for. We're going to continue to advocate for.
I think it's great to see, because for a long time, I make this joke on the show all the time, and of course it's an exaggeration, but I would say for years here on the show, the legislature thinks we're just where the water comes from. and oftentimes, Cache County would get treated that way, and it was always with a promise. We haven't forgotten you, but you'll get your road funding next year or next budget. And so it was great to see this, what again from the outside looked like a coordinated effort to speak for Cache Valley, to fight for Cache County, and it worked. That's one thing we should really highlight, is that you were successful on most fronts. Cache County went down, said, here are our priorities, and for the most part, the legislature said, that's a good plan. Okay.
Well, we have a dream team in our legislative delegation. We have some really influential people, including people like Chris Wilson, who he's very new to this, but
you wouldn't know it.
Yeah, he walked in there and got so much respect on day one from his fellow senators, leadership positions. Casey Snyder, also extremely influential. He got some things done this session that people didn't think were possible to get done.
Sure.
One of the things that Casey Snyder helped us with is the railroad. We've talked about this a little bit on the show. We're working on widening SR 30, and that's Valley View Highway that goes from Logan out to Box Elder County, and the railroad got in our way when it came to widening across the railroad tracks, and he was not afraid to go to bat for us. He was not afraid to tell the railroad what needed to happen and how things needed to go. We did pass a bill. It was actually sponsored by Representative Schultz that changes the authority on who gets to decide those things on the railroad crossings, and gave that authority to UDOT to be able to decide independently and fairly who's responsible for those railroad crossings and how much they have to pay. So thankfully that bill passed. So Casey Snyder did an awesome job for us. Really, he goes to bat for you. He will fight for you harder than you would fight for yourself. He's pretty awesome. He really just works hard.
He spoke up many times in committee meetings for Cache Valley specific concerns about bills coming from other parts of the state, and that was one that I did happen to catch when he spoke about Schultz's railroad bill. And of course, they said, well, they could sue us, et cetera, and the discussion was, look, we need to do this anyway. It's long overdue, and we haven't really talked about this, but a listener, after we visited last month, a listener said, where does the railroad control? And I realized, I was actually driving back into the valley yesterday, and this was the first time I realized you can actually see, based on where the current 4-lane road shrinks down to 2, where the Union Pacific jurisdiction, rather, kicks in as you're coming into the valley.
Yeah.
And so is that what they want? They want a scenario where it does that just to go over the railroad tracks in both directions and then widens back out?
I don't think that's really what they want. What they really want is us to help them with their costs.
They want you,
that's
Cache
ultimately
County to
what
foot or UDOT to foot
they want whoever, Logan City, in one of the cases is Logan City, in other cases UDOT. They want us to help them to pay for their costs, which we've been saying all along we're willing to do, as long as it is a fair amount, as long as it's an accurate amount, as long as it's based on what the actual costs are going to be, but not just some arbitrary number that's been just pulled out of a hat.
Which the number they came up with seemed... I'm no expert on this, but when we spoke with UDOT about this, it seemed pretty arbitrary.
And that was the argument that Logan City made to them, because Logan City was the first one to have this issue with them, and Logan City said, well, show us some of your maintenance records. We'd like to see how much this has cost in the past. They never were shown anything, as far as I know.
And so we still have that ugly intersection at 10th West. And
that needs to be fixed.
Or 6th West.
We have cars that need to get through there. We need to open the roads so that we can get the cars through. Another issue that the railroad wants, which I understand this too, they want it to be safe. They want the crossings to be safe. I
because
agree
trains
with that.
do go through occasionally.
There
right,
are trains going through there. But that's the problem with this one. They were saying that they wanted us to basically build a bridge. They call it a grade separation, a bridge over the railroad tracks that was going to cost like $75 million to do that, when there is one train per week that goes through here. So one train a week, and we're going to build a $75 million bridge. And how many accidents have there ever been there? The train goes through at like 10 miles an hour.
Sure.
So it's not like we're having a high-speed train every 10 minutes zooming through there.
And you can't argue that it would be any increased safety concern, because the speed limit's not going to change.
Yeah.
That from what it is now, and we already have a train go through there, and so just
it would be nice.
It seems like a weak argument.
It'd be great to have a bridge over that, but
sure,
who's going to pay for that? That's $75 million. That's a lot of money. For that bridge. It would be smoother for traffic flow, but it's not really a problem when you have one train a week coming into the valley. It's not a huge issue. There are railroad crossings around the country where you have train after train after train, constantly multiple trains per day going through, and sometimes at very high speed. In those cases, maybe something like that would be warranted. But
oh man, 12th Street in Ogden, the speed limit's 50, and they have a few trains a day go through and block traffic there on the average week. And so I think I'm happy to see this move ahead, and the safety issue, I think, is more centered around the current state of the road. If you want to look at it from a UDOT safety issue perspective, widening that road has to make a huge difference. And this is just one thing that will be going on. Cache County, so construction season about to get underway, and not quite there yet, though, right? Do you know when they plan to really kick off the summer construction?
There are some projects that are already underway. 100 West down at the Logan River.
Oh, that's right.
That project is underway. If you haven't driven by there,
check
and
it out.
You drive by, things look very different. There's a new bridge going in. This will help to alleviate some of the traffic off of Main Street by having 100 West cross the river over a new bridge, and it'll connect all the way down to where the signal is at the South McDonald's.
It's very nice.
So that will be nice, but there are a number of other projects that are about to get underway. The realignment of 3200 South at 8991, that'll be under construction this summer. SR 30 will be under construction hopefully this summer. A lot of projects about to be underway.
Very cool. Busy time for Cache County. And we didn't even talk about growth. We'll save that for next month. But it is, a challenge for counties across the state to meet all of these growing needs at the same time. But again, as I've said a couple times here this hour, this year at the legislative session, you can sleep tight knowing that Cache County was heard. And I think, Mr. Zook, a lot is owed to you for that. Our lawmakers as well, especially Representative Johnson and Snyder, as you mentioned. Senator Wilson, how he got himself on some of those committees in his first term is a conversation I can't wait to have with him here on the air one day. But, hats off, though, for the way the legislative session was handled. It was impressive to see.
Team effort. It was a team effort.
Very nice. Well, thank you for your time. Thanks to our listeners for their questions and their time as well. And that is our show today. Dave Ramsey next here on KVNU Logan.